Hey everybody, think we're on here.
Think we're live,
Think we're live.
streaming straight from
Pork
Dublin
and I
right
feel
now.
like TV anchors right here.
Um,
Welcome to the Academy on Air this morning, February 21st. It's a very nice spring summer day here in Dublin, but we're inside talking about automation and trying to give you guys some best practices. So quick introductions. My name's Eric. I am a regional automation specialist based here in Dublin. I've been in Dublin for about a year and a half now. I spent my first year at Google in a strategy role in the headquarters in California, and originally I'm from New York. Happy to be here with an Irishman right here.
Yeah, so my name is Pork. I'm on the same team as Eric on the automation side. I've been in Google for 6 years, predominantly on the sales side, but worked in programmatic side in Sydney for about 2 years as well. So I'm delighted to be here talking about all things automation. So guys, today the purpose of this hangout on air is talk about the value of automation, particularly from a creative perspective and from a smart campaign perspective. So what we really want you to take away from this session is an understanding of why automation is so important from a creative perspective. Deep dive into the products that offer you that automation power, and then answer some of the questions that may arise as we discuss these topics. So why automation? You would have seen this stat many times. Each day in Google, we get about 3.6 billion different queries. Of those queries, about 15% of those have never been seen before. So there's a huge amount of searches that are happening that we've never seen before. And from an advertiser perspective, it means how do we tailor the right message to our user? And when we think about that user, they all are incredibly different. Even we're thinking of a single query. Say someone looking to book a hotel. One instance, we have Charles. He's working for his company and they're planning a retreat. Maybe they've hit their sales targets. Maybe they've launched a new product. And he's looking for a certain type of hotel. He's looking for free Wi-Fi. He's looking for conference rooms. And in addition, he's looking for discounts so they don't go over budget. Then we have Diana. And so Diana is in a slightly different perspective. She's looking to have a family vacation. And what she's really looking for is a way to keep the kids busy with a swimming pool, maybe having some time out for herself and her partner in the form of a spa amenity and a child center so they can get that time away. And then we think of Sally. And Sally is working with couples to try and book their dream wedding. And when she's thinking about booking a hotel, she's thinking about fine dining. She's thinking about a big event, and she's looking to get the best discount on the rooms for all the guests coming. So we have a single query there, booking a hotel, but we've got completely different users and completely different intents. So how do we solve for this? Well, it's incredibly difficult at the moment. If you consider Rebecca, she's an account manager who's trying to reach all of these customers and match their needs. She knows that she has to target her message to her user. She knows she has to tailor it, but she doesn't really know how to do it given the fact that there's over 1,000 different ad formats that she can use across video, display, and search. And she also knows that she can't just skip this step and that one message doesn't fit all users. She not only has to reach Charlie, who's looking to book a corporate weekend away. She has to reach Diana, who's looking for that holiday break, and Sally, who's trying to organize a dream wedding for a couple. And there's many other customers there as well. That's just 3 examples that we have broken out. So many things for her to consider. What keyword, what ad text, what image? So how can Rebecca deliver the right message to each of these users? For us, it breaks down into 2 main solutions. It's going to be smart creatives, making sure that we're showing the right message to the right user at the right moment. And then as we scale that out, using automated campaigns so that we can acquire the right users in that context. The beauty of smart creatives is that it allows you to tailor the message for every single moment, but providing our system with the assets and allowing us to use our machine learning algorithms to deliver the right message to that user.
I just want to add real quickly. I mean, we've seen kind of the flow through these slides. We started with like all of the ridiculous number of queries that we see on Google every day, right? Every single, it's scary to kind of think about how much is sort of going on the web, but it's also an incredible opportunity. Every single time you search something, every single time you visit a website, that's a little tiny fragment, a little tiny signal about who you are as a person and what you're interested in. And you've heard Google talking about things like machine learning, artificial intelligence, all that stuff in the past couple year or two, and what that really is, it sounds very technical. What it really is us trying to make sense of that data and make sure we can figure out the very, very specific intent of maybe, we saw it already, 3 different users who are looking for the same thing, but they're not the same person. And they have kind of, different needs and will respond differently to different creatives as well. And that's really what all of this automation is about. It's about not just having a lot of data, but being able to make sense of it, analyze it, and allow you guys as account managers or as customers to act on that data and get insights from it in a very easy and automated way. So we want you to kind of embrace this automation so that you can make the most of all of that data that there is available.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing to note. We're drowning in data at the moment, but we need to find ways to use it. And these solutions really allow you to tailor, exactly as Eric was saying.
Okay, so I am going to kind of dive into some of the more tactical elements here on the smart creative side. That's my particular specialty. I'll take that from you, Pork, so we can flip along. So we have kind of three main smart creative products that we're going to focus on here. On the search side, we have the new responsive search ads, which you'll see the acronym RSA very often. We have dynamic search ads. DSA is the acronym for that one. And then on the display side, we have responsive display ads. There are kind of little nuances between each of these other than the obvious differences between platforms. But each of them kind of is sort of fulfilling that same principle. We want to give the right message to the right user, the right ad creative at the right time. The other thing we really want you to, we're not going to go into too much detail today, but smart bidding is a really, really important component of any smart creative strategy. So when we talk about automated campaigns, all of those kind of have smart bidding built in. We really want to move customers away from manual keyword bidding. There's so many different signals, so much information that you can kind of integrate into determining what the right bid is for the right user. And it's really, really hard to manage all of those signals in a manual way. And so we say, try to move to a smart bidding solution, target CPA, target ROAS, and it will make your smart creatives strategy much more effective. So flipping along here, there we go, the smart bidding. The kind of second half outside of smart creatives will be the automated campaigns element. As I mentioned, smart bidding is built into all of those. We have 4 types: smart display campaigns, which help you on the Google Display Network; universal app campaigns if you're trying to promote an app; local campaigns; and smart shopping campaigns as well. Each of those can kind of integrate smart creatives, combine it with smart bidding, and allow you to really simplify your campaign management in a much easier way. So let's start out with search creatives. The first product I mentioned here is responsive search ads. So the idea here is that we saw people trying to kind of create their own ads manually, and they had a lot of difficulty getting the quality of ad, where it should be, right? Were they really kind of tailoring their message and creating that customized creative for every single user? And we saw that in most cases they were not. So we created this new responsive, which effectively means automated search ads product. You kind of upload as the client the raw inputs, the headlines, the description. descriptions. You can see there we ask for up to 15 headlines and up to 4 descriptions. And we use machine learning to kind of combine those different headlines and descriptions together, and give the highest performing ad to each individual user for each individual query. And so it's a really powerful way, again, to just do the upfront work, provide the raw inputs, the headlines and descriptions, and the system kind of does the rest, and it always learns over time. So anything when we're talking about machine learning, it may kind of start out slow. It may test some different, different combinations. Over time, it will always kind of figure out what is performing best, and it will kind of direct itself as a system to showing that asset, that high performing asset more often.
I think on the responsive search ads piece, where it's completely different to the way we've managed search ads in the past, was often in the past we'd look at averages. We'd say, what was the average click-through rate for this particular ad unit we've set up? And then when we develop new ad units, it's always, is that getting a strong click-through rate? What is that conversion rate based on? And that's always been aggregated results. It's always been based on the last 100,000, 10,000 clicks I've got coming through. Has it been a strong performer? Now, the magic of responsive search ads is it's building ads for each and every user. So we're not aggregating data anymore. We're saying, for this user, is this the right ad to build? Given the information that we know from the auction, from your own account, here's the best ad we can deliver for you.
Exactly. And one of the things you may have heard Google talk about last year, I know I did a live stream on the topic, was audience, right? Audience is an example of a signal that is integrated now into kind of every single auction, right? We're not necessarily preaching audience as much anymore, because we found that customers did make a lot of progress of getting their audience lists, their remarketing lists, kind of really trying to target people based on interest rather than just demographics. But all of that information about what the given profile interests of a user are taken into account when we determine what the right responsive search ad is to show. There's also millions of other, there's what device you on, what time of day it is, what you searched recently. There's so many different signals, and again, it's much easier to manage that in an automated way. I'm going to go a little faster here just for the sake of time. So if we think about kind of what a responsive search ad looks like, there's kind of a few different performance components to it, right? It gives you more space than you had in kind of traditional search ads. It gives you enhanced flexibility, and you can kind of control your messaging if you like, using the pinning feature. So if you have a headline that you want to make sure that shows every single time, you can pin that headline and make sure, and it will show up in every single ad auction. So there's an element of automation here. There's also an element of control, and that's a key component. We did some Google internal kind of data studies. We looked at aggregate data across a lot of different customers. We found that you usually get about a 10% click uplift on average compared to the kind of legacy standard search ads. So really good performance that we're seeing there. If we talk about some of the best practices, I'm going to flip up, make sure that all these come out at once here so you can read them through. The key thing I think here is really providing the system a good variety of inputs to test, right? So 5 distinct headlines, at least 2 distinct descriptions. You want a few of those headlines to be actually related to the keywords that you're going after, right? You want the keyword that you're targeting to match the creative that you're producing. You want to really avoid redundancy. You don't want to have phrases that kind of mean the same thing, because that's going to basically mean that when the system tests two different options, it's not actually testing anything that's different. And again, the pinning feature can allow you, if you do have a very strict requirement that certain text needs to be in the creative, you can pin that in position 1, position 2, whatever it may be. And so again, you give the system a good variety of different inputs here, and it will test the different combinations and figure out what is working the best. Another really good thing that we've recently released is the ad strength metric. The ad strength metric is visible to you in the Google Ads UI as you create the ad. I think there are 4 categories poor, average, good, and excellent. And it will basically tell you, based on the number of headlines, number of descriptions, the redundancy of those descriptions, things like that. It'll tell you, does it project that this ad is going to be a good performer? I would always shoot for good or even excellent if you can with all of your ads. You can check this in real time. If you don't see that little green circle with the checkbox there, that means that you kind of have some work to do, and it'll kind of direct you to how to make those creatives better, whether it be adding headlines or descriptions or improving kind of distinctiveness, anything like that. So really good to get that instant feedback. We have a similar metric for responsive display ads, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
I particularly like this feature when we're talking about the ad strength, because like we mentioned previously, we're not advertising to averages anymore. We're advertising to each user. So when you're setting up ads, how do you know whether it's good or bad is the feedback we got from clients. So Product have taken that on board. And this is a really great way to set yourself up for success when you're building out responsive search ads.
Awesome. So let's move on to DSA, dynamic search ads. So really, really powerful product. It's one that's actually been around a while, and for that reason, it works really effectively. But it's not one that, at least on on our side of the business, that we've pushed a tremendous amount, and we kind of noticed a really strong opportunity for advertisers to improve this, and that's why we're really starting to focus on it a lot more these days. So what DSA is DSA is trying to make sure that every single potential query that could be related to content on your website is captured, right? So if you have a website that sells, denim jeans and shoes and electronics, right? You might only have keywords that are targeting, a specific set, or maybe you're only targeting denim, maybe you're not targeting electronics, something like that. And what DSA is making sure that for everything that you have on your website, you're going to be able to have creatives and be able to capture users who are looking for the content of your website as well. So the way it does that, it's a crawling, it's kind of a crawling algorithm that we have. DSA will crawl all of the content of your website. It will sort of make sure that all of the content is captured on all of the different pages, and it will be able to again capture users who are searching for queries that are related to content on your site and provide them a creative at the same time. So it's both a targeting solution in terms of it kind of looking for new users. It's also a creative solution in terms of providing a creative for that user. When I usually think about how DSA and RSA, they don't exactly kind of integrate with one another. I think RSA is going to help you get the most out of your existing kind of manual keyword campaigns. DSA is a way to kind of almost not have to do as much manual keyword targeting anymore, right? Because it's going to give you your list of keywords, your list of queries based on crawling your site, right? You're not going to have to put that in manually.
From a DSA perspective, there's so many benefits. If you're a new advertiser and you don't know what type of keywords you should be targeting, DSA solves that solution. It'll look across your website and deliver the right type of results for you if you pair it with a smart bidding solution. Or if you want to launch in a new country and you don't have time to manually set up these campaigns, again, DSA pops in. Or if you're massively growing, if you're a travel client who's taken on new hotels, or maybe you're an e-commerce client that's opening up a new brand on your site, DSA solves these questions of scalability and allows you to launch incredibly fast in a way that you wouldn't have been able to do before.
Totally. And you'll see on the top right there, the recommended targeting setting we have. There are 5 different targeting settings for DSA. Each one kind of has different use cases. The one that we think is the most applicable is the new one. It's called targeting landing pages from your standard ad groups. So what that means is it basically just takes the landing pages that you're already targeting with your manual keyword campaigns, and it adds DSA to those pages. So it's going to make sure that if your manual keywords are missing any potential queries that are relevant to the landing pages that you have, DSA will capture all of those queries as well. So it's very kind of expansive in that sense. Again, this is just a little bit of a screenshot on how DSA works. Really saves you a lot of time, as Porek said, in terms of keyword management, making sure you're getting all of the potential relevant queries that are related to your site, even if you're not kind of doing so with manual keywords. You have a search query report, which gives you a ton of insights into what DSA is doing. So again, it's automation, but we are giving you insights and kind of control into what's going on. You can always exclude individual web pages if you'd like to as well. New stat, we actually had another internal study. We usually see about a 29% uplift in conversions with DSA at a 10% lower CPA. So really, really powerful, high-performing product, one that's been around for a while. And for that reason, the performance is really good based on the data that we've seen over time. A couple best practices for DSA. Again, smart bidding is really, really key. Similar to what we said before, unconstrained budget is really, really helpful. You don't want to, with anything automated, you don't want to starve it. If you starve it of budget, you're potentially starving it of data, and it's not going to be able to learn and optimize as quickly. So unconstrained budget is the way to go. The search terms report, again, can give you insight into how the campaign is performing, and you want to maximize your website targeting coverage. Try to reach all of the pages across your site, and have DSA crawl those pages. If you're missing pages, you're missing potentially relevant queries that somebody could be kind of typing in and could match with your site. So again, a little bit of a comparison here between RSA and DSA. We talked about this a little bit already, but again, I like to think of RSA as something that is an incremental add on top of your existing manual keyword campaigns. And DSA is a little bit more of an expansive solution. It's going to make sure you capture anything that you missed. And in some cases, it may actually outperform your existing keyword campaigns. We see that a lot with broad match keywords. DSA, because it's crawling the website and really taking a very, very specific look at the content of your site. Sometimes it can capture a query in a more specific way than a broad match or a broad match modifier keyword. And so it can actually be better than your manual keyword campaigns in some cases as well. If you start with DSA and you, again, as Pori said, you don't know what queries to go after, you just start with DSA in a new campaign, and you eventually see that a certain keyword is performing really well that DSA is capturing. You can split that keyword into an exact match campaign and have a little bit more control over doing it that way as well. But it's that combination of being able to have some manual exact match keyword targeting, and then some DSA to kind of capture anything that you may be missing on other landing pages or on landing pages that you're going after. Let's flip over to the display side. It's a very similar principle here. We saw that people were creating display ads, and they were generally unable to get the quality that they needed, or they were unable to fit in all of the different slots across the Google Display Network. There's something like 2,000 or 3,000 different ad slots that a display ad can fit in. If you're creating ads manually, there's a very, very low chance that you're actually going to be able to fit into each and every one of those slots. And so what responsive display ads has come in to be able to do is, again, you give the kind of headlines, images, descriptions, logo, all of the raw inputs. The system uses machine learning to make sure that you can get the full reach across the Google Display Network, and also be able to show that highest performing ad to each individual user, depending on their interests and depending on kind of their browsing behavior. So across the Display Network, YouTube, and Gmail, this is a really, really effective way to create your display ads.
I think on that one, this is another great example of automation solving a problem. So in the past, when people were launching display campaigns, they'd focus on their skyscrapers, their 300 by 250, and wouldn't build out the additional assets that they needed to run across the whole display network. And when you question their ask advertisers on it, mostly it's because of time and not being able to do this. Now, with responsive display ads, like Eric was saying, we take care of that for you. Provide us with the assets, and we'll make sure that we're delivering the right ad in the right unit for your users. And when you think about users who are moving across devices, they're on their mobile, they're used to more native feeling ad units on websites, it's a game changer.
Totally. And remember how big the display, I mean, there's something like 2 million websites in the display network. Like, even if you're covering, let's say you could cover 50% of it using manual kind of legacy display ads, you're still missing the other 50%. That's a tremendous number of websites, a tremendous number of people. And so it's really important to get the fullest reach possible. So again, similar principle here in terms of how how the responsive display, ads are set up. We want you to automate the creation of the ads, but we want to give you kind of insights and control into them as well. So you will get very, very good insights into, things like ad strength. How is the ad performing? You will be able to kind of, if you have specific brand requirements, you can kind of choose certain colors for your ads to make sure that they show up. You can choose which text and images to highlight to make sure they show up as well. So we want to give you that control to make sure that if you have brand requirements that you can meet them even in a responsive way. And so there shouldn't be worries about it being a black box or anything like that, right? We're going to help you automate and help you, reach individual users with the right query, with the right browsing behavior, but we want to give you control and insights into it as well. This is kind of what it looks like in the Google Ads UI itself. You have again, we talked about the ad strength metric. You get some very, very real-time feedback in terms of how your assets are performing here. So if you see anything that is kind of less than subpar, you don't have a green check mark, you don't have enough images, headlines, descriptions, logos, whatever it is, make sure you fill up all of those assets and give the system all of the inputs that it needs. You'll also get a really, really strong preview tool you see here in the bottom right to make sure you get a sense of what these ads are actually going to look like on the web. That was something we heard a lot from advertisers. They were surprised in terms of what their ads look like when they got onto the web, and we created this very nice, robust preview feature to make sure that there's no surprises here. Best practices. Very, very similar to what we were talking about on the responsive search ad side. Give yourself a lot of assets, a lot of distinct assets, right? So the system has a lot of different inputs to test and to combine with one another. You can see all of the numbers of those assets a little bit below here. 5 images, 5 descriptions, 5 headlines, one image, and 1 headline as well. And then you want to, another thing about the display network is it's really got to be, remember, a user is not typing in a keyword here. So you've got to make sure that the call to action is really good, the images are really strong, and that the images are relevant to what you're offering. So if you're offering, you're selling cameras, right? I think you may not, here would be a picture of a couple of children having a good time. That may not be, you could take a picture of that, but that's not exactly related to what you're offering. So you want to, have a image and have text that relates exactly to what you're selling on your website and that you want to direct your user to. Don't let there be any confusion. Users are not, think about yourself on the web. You're not going around thinking about, what does this ad really mean? I really think, I'm going to try to figure this one out, right? You look at it. If it appeals to you, you kind of quickly click it. And so make sure there's kind of relevance and a strong call to action there. Going to give it over to Park to talk about automated campaigns, and we'll take some questions on all of this at the end.
Brilliant. So the first type of automated campaign we want to talk about is smart display campaigns. So with smart display campaigns, we're letting you broaden your customer base and acquire new customers by stepping outside of just search. And so in order to get started, all you need is just the building blocks of a strong campaign. You need to decide what targets you're going after, whether it's ROAS or CPA, decide your campaign budget, and provide us with the creative assets. And from there, we'll do the rest. We're going to be optimizing towards those goals and using the inputs that you provided to us to be able to drive the right type of results to you. The same principles apply in terms of giving us enough data and giving us a variety of data as well. But we've seen really strong performance coming from smart display campaigns. And in addition, it saves a lot of time with that initial campaign setup.
Yeah, we just talked about the responsive display ads, right? This plugs right into Smart Display, right? Smart Display is a way to automate your entire campaign. It includes responsive display ads, right? When you give the creative assets here, it's going to kind of it's going to give you those same responsive display ads that we just talked about. It's also going to automate again the entire rest of your campaign. It's going to automate the bidding, automate the targeting, make sure it's going to look at kind of any audience lists you have in the account, and try to allow you to start off on the display network and do so across the entire GDN in a very, very quick and easy way. And so we've seen really, really good results from doing that.
And I think when you think about all these products, the question you should be asking yourself is scale and control. Where do I sit in that line. Do I need to have more control over these campaigns? Maybe then responsive display campaigns make sense, or do I need to scale as quickly as possible and drive the right type of results? And this is where these automated campaigns really come to their power and their strength.
And we can also just talk about the importance of display in the first place. We see a lot of people in the past. I ask them, what does your customer journey look like? And they say, it starts when somebody searches for us. And that's kind of a very kind of old school way of thinking about things, right? If you think about it, it's like, I think it's about 20% of time of people online is spent searching. Another 80% of your time is spent across the rest of the web. And so it's really important to try to go a little bit higher than that, further up in the traditional marketing funnel than when somebody is actually searching for you, typing in the keyword, right? You want to be able to reach them when they're doing other things as well. And we have a very good way of kind of looking at people's browsing behavior, determining if they might be interested in your product or service. And if you're kind of trying to go after them with something like smart display campaigns, you're going to reach them before they even start searching in the first place and actually drive more of that lower funnel activity. So it's a really good way to kind of beat people to the punch and not just wait for them to find their way and eventually search for your particular terms.
The other automated campaign that we're seeing great success with is smart shopping campaigns. So with smart shopping campaigns, we can simplify your campaign management. All we need from you is your existing product feed for you to set up a shopping campaign, and we'll combine these assets with Google's machine learning and show a variety of ads across all of our networks. So that's YouTube, that's display, Gmail, and search. The real core benefits to this campaign type is it's easy to set up, it's fully automated, and we're seeing incredibly powerful results coming from these smart shopping campaigns. From some of the internal analysis we've done, we saw a 20% increase in conversion value than standard campaigns. And when you think about it, it makes sense. When we can look across the whole ad networks, we can identify opportunities that exist outside search to drive the right type of results.
Yeah, totally. Really, really powerful, particularly for retail advertisers. You saw for both display campaigns, we saw about a 20% higher volume of conversions compared to standard display campaigns for smart shopping campaigns, similar to the legacy shopping campaigns as well. So really, really good results from what we're seeing here, particularly for retail advertisers.
Then I think you will all be familiar with universal app campaigns. It was one of our very first automated campaigns. With this campaign type, we can drive app downloads at scale across multiple different networks. It allows you to be discoverable across all these different networks. It allows you to have control over your bidding strategies, the budgets, and the assets that you provide. And using our algorithm again, we can identify opportunities to drive the right type of business results for you. So basically what we're asking you to do is decide your strategy. If you've got an app and you're looking to promote it, what way are you looking to promote it? And once you've made those decisions from a budget, from a KPI setting, you can just get started straight off the bat. The other campaign type that we're really excited about is local campaigns. The main purpose behind local campaigns is to drive store visits. So we know that customers are moving offline to online, and that transition is incredibly smooth. And so with this new campaign type, we're allowing you to use some of Google's best features online to drive offline results. So with local campaigns, it's going to target across all of Google's network. So it's going to include formats on search, on display, on YouTube, and importantly on maps as well. And then again, it's fitting into that key solution for advertiser. It's a question of simplicity and scale. So again, you can use Google's machine learning to ensure that we're serving the right ads to the right users and optimize to that store visit.
Just want to kind of reiterate all of the different kind of types of campaigns we have going here, right? So, I think it's pretty hard to be an advertiser that doesn't fall into, one of these buckets to be able to find value out of these different types of campaigns. If you're a retail advertiser, you have a lot of physical locations, or if you're a non-retail advertiser, you have a lot of physical locations. Local campaigns will be awesome. If you're an app advertiser, you want to promote your app, try to get downloads, try to get more users. Universal app campaigns, really, really good way to go. If you are an e-commerce advertiser, smart shopping is going to be an awesome fit for you. If you are any other type of advertiser, you want to kind of expand beyond search, right? Smart display can be a great way to do that. And then, you notice we didn't have a campaign called Smart Search Campaigns, right? Maybe we'll have that in the future, perhaps. But just remember the other automated types of campaigns that we talked about, automated solutions that we talked about on the search side. We talked about the new responsive search ads. We talked about dynamic search ads that allow you to kind of crawl your entire website and make sure that you're capturing all of the queries possible in an automated way and capturing and serving a customized creative to those users. And so there's, no matter who you are, there's a really great crop of automated solutions that you can benefit from, and that can give you insights and control, even while doing your kind of targeting, your bidding, things like that in an automated way. So yeah, we can just kind of wrap up here before we get into questions. We don't want to, let's just flip back one more there. Thank you. We want to kind of get away from spending time on manual keyword lists and creatives, right? We think that's not an effective way to spend your time. It's going to be very hard for you to replicate the performance that a machine learning algorithm can. So we want you to free up time to work on other things. We want to still give you control over the look and feel of your ads and insights about any automated campaign that you're running. We don't want anything to be a black box, and we want you to benefit and be able to see all of the data that we're making use of as well. Smart creatives are going to be the highest performing creative solution that you can have. You're going to be able to serve the exactly relevant creative for each individual user, depending on their browsing behavior and profile. And then automated campaigns are going to allow you to simplify your campaign management, reach both new and returning customers in an automated way, and in some, in many cases, have smart creatives actually plug into those automated campaigns as well. So a lot of great solutions that we covered there for sure. And moving forward, we do have a series of episodes kind of upcoming here on the Academy on Air series. Machine learning is one that we're going to talk about next. Very, very black box of a topic, really easy words to say. And I feel like I know what a machine is, I know what learning is, but when you put them together, it's quite a complex topic. So we're going to try to make that easier for you guys to understand and help you understand how we use machine learning every day here at Google. So stay tuned for that. And that will be, I guess, episodes 4 and 5 upcoming. So look out for invites for those, and we'll have other folks from our team here coming to provide those to you. Thanks for joining. Let's do some Q&A. I'm going to flip over here to see if we got any questions throughout the. We got plenty of questions. Look at this. All right, let me just see if I can flip through this and be able to see the questions here. Not have time for all of these, but I can go through some of them. Let's look at, I see the first one here from Terry. We have, with RSA, is there going to be a point where we are able to see which combination works best? So I believe we are, I think it's called a combinations report, something like that. I believe that is something that we're working on. It's possible it's already available. So I would just check your Google Ads UI to see if you see any report in there. If you don't, I think we are going to be able to provide that to you soon. Again, that's something we want you to understand which assets are working well in conjunction. At the same time, it can be difficult to actually replicate and show every single combination that's happening there. So, there's, as you can imagine, there's thousands, millions of them, and it can be difficult to produce that in a given report. But we do want you to give you insights into which assets are performing well and which assets are not performing as well.
Yeah, so with the combination report, it is, I believe it's there in the account ready where it is coming. The important thing to know is, from a combination perspective, it's understanding what's happening. But you also have to take into consideration that we're trying to build an ad for each and every user. So when we're looking at different combination, we're moving back up to that historical view of aggregating things out and saying which precise combination worked best. And in many cases, there won't be just one single combination that worked best. It's going to be multiple different combinations, and defined best will be defined by the user as well.
We had another question, a similar question here about reporting. So this is good feedback for us. It does seem like we have some common feedback that reporting could be a little bit more robust, and we'll make sure to kind of relay that, take a stock of kind of what the reporting is now, and try to make that a little bit more robust. As I mentioned, it is difficult to truly provide insight about every single different combination, but I think we're getting there, and we're going to continue to kind of give you insights as well. I see a question here about ETA, expanded text ads, relating to kind of the amount of space that's available. I think you're right here. The amount of space is the same. I think that the difference we're saying is that responsive search ads it gives you more space to kind of provide more inputs. Even if the ultimate output is the same, you have a lot more flexibility in the number of inputs that you can test and combine with one another. And I think that's what the value is. Another thing we see very often is that people kind of compare the performance of RSA, responsive search ads, and the performance of ETA, right? We're not really saying here that one is better than the other, that we're going to see, if RSA is not performing as well as ETA, you should shut it off, right? RSA is an incremental addition. It's going to help you show up in a relevant way for more queries than what ETA allows you to show up for. And so it's incrementally additive. We want you to look at, you should look at the performance of the entire ad group with ETA and RSA before and after you added RSA to that ad group, and see if at the entire aggregated ad group level you're seeing better performance in terms of conversions, CPA, things like that. So it's not a mutually exclusive decision here, one versus the other. Trying to read this question.
So in addition to this, we've got a question: is there going to be an ability to use automation and ad rotation based on both click-through rate and conversion rate? Okay, so if I understand this correctly, the question is, will we be able to change the ad ratio, not just based on the conversion rate, but on the click-through rate? So the way our smart bidding strategies work is they're very clearly delineated between two main goals: performance and then brand metrics. So when we're talking about performance metrics, we're talking about things like maximize conversion, TCPA, and TROAS. And that bid strategy will optimize towards that conversion rate. When we talk about brand metrics, we have other automated bidding strategies such as top of page reports and impression share targeting maximize clicks. And those ones are geared towards the number of clicks and impression share that we have here as well. At the moment, there's no plan to combine those type of bidding strategies together, that you would focus on the conversion rate and the click-through rate. For performance strategies, our single goal is typically that conversion rate or conversion value that we can drive at each query.
Yeah, I think all of what Pork said is right there. I mean, I think responsive search ads, responsive display ads, all of these smart creatives, they're designed to be performance driving solutions, right? So we're going to be able, it's going to be able to understand the system, the conversion rate, the CTR, the CPA, things like that. It's going to be able to serve the best performing ad for that user based on whatever goals that you're trying to optimize for on the campaign. And that's what your bidding strategy is basically telling the campaign, is what are your goals. And so we integrate all of this information, and we'll show ads kind of based on that. I think we still do talk about a metric like CTR a little bit too much. I see another question here about basing testing based on CTR. CTR is just it's not a particularly relevant metric from a performance perspective, right? We want to focus more on CPA, on conversions, on conversion rate, things that are actually determined in, that are performance driving metrics that are related to what you're actually trying to drive. CTR is just a clicking metric. It's not necessarily telling you much about, how those users are actually performing, when they reach a site. So, I think that's a metric that we want to try to move a little bit away from. I will add on display, something like relative CTR can be a good metric. That might be one that you have to add manually. Relative CTR basically looks at, it uses 100% as a baseline. And if your metric is below 100%, it means that your ad is relatively less likely than a similar ad to be clicked. If it's over 100%, it's relatively more likely. And so that is a metric that can be useful to be able to understand how your display creatives are performing. Look for a relative CTR that's ideally over 100%. See what else we have here. I just want to kind of take stock of. We have a lot of different questions. Here's a short one. What strategy would you recommend when setting up a smart display campaign for retailers? Pork, I figure you take one. We probably have TCPA or target ROAS as well, right?
Yeah. So if you're setting up a campaign fresh off the bat, we would typically recommend using, say, CPA if you know what the CPA target is. So target CPA. Or else using maximize conversions. If you're not quite sure what type of CPA there is, we want to drive as many conversions as possible with that budget. The reason why we'd recommend those two particular campaigns for those two particular bidding strategies for a new campaign is you can utilize those straight off the bat. So the updates that we've made to those bidding algorithms mean that you can start with zero eligibility. So without any conversion history in your account, we've seen them perform significantly better than manual CPC with about a 20% uplift. So in this particular case, I'd recommend you to utilize either target CPA or maximize for conversions.
I see a question here about ad strength. Is it determined in the auction? It's not technically entering the auction, but ad strength is kind of going to be connected to your sort of quality score, right? So it's not in the auction per se, but ad strength is looking at the same kind of inputs that are going to determine the relevance, the quality score of your ad, and so it is sort of integrated in that sense. And remember, ad strength is going to be a result of sort of how an ad is performing, right? So it's going to if it's telling you that you have poor ad strength, it's probably not a very, it probably has a low quality score. It's probably not performing very well, and you should improve it. Vice versa, if it's doing well, it's probably performing well as well. I see another question here about RSA, DSA setting the RSA landing. Normally, we set our RSA landing page to the end product detail page. Should we consider using the product category listing page instead? So I talked about that setting. That targeting setting for DSA that we recommend first, which is landing pages from your standard ad groups. So that's the first thing I would probably say to do. It's the easiest to apply. It's a good way to get started with DSA. It's just going to take, again, all of those end product detail pages and be able to put DSA onto them. It's one click, one setting. It will look at all of the landing pages that you're already targeting in the account. We do have a different targeting setting for DSA called categories targeting, which is really, I think, what you're asking here in the question. That is something worth trying as well. That's going to look at those. It's going to look at the categories. It's going to crawl your website and figure out what kind of common categories there are, and be able to kind of group those categories into kind of different buckets as well. So categories targeting is another thing that I think you could try. I don't think it's kind of clear which one is going to be better. You could actually use both of them, but I would maybe consider setting both of them up and see which one works better. I think categories targeting is a little bit broader, right? Whereas landing pages from your standard ad groups a little bit better balance between kind of that reach and control. And I think that some of the other forms of DSA targeting, we talk about all web pages, page feeds. Those are a little bit more complex. I would probably stick with categories, landing pages from your standard ad groups, or you could actually pick individual landing pages and just go with those URLs. We have another question here about smart shopping campaigns being a black box.
I'll go for answer. I think it kind of echoes what Eric mentioned around RSA and DSA. So we give options to advertisers to have more control. And so if you need more control over campaigns and you feel there's a benefit that you can drive by manually inputting that information, the options are there. So for instance, if you feel you have more control and understanding of how you should be targeting your campaigns, use shopping and use dynamic remarketing and targeting on YouTube. If for you the real challenge is scale, then we would advise you to use our automated campaigns. And by the very nature, and not going into too technical, but the very nature of how machine learning works, it is slightly a black box in terms of it's able to look at all these different combinations that we can't hard code into our accounts. And so when we launch these automated campaigns, we're really trying to solve the problem of scale.
Totally. Yeah, I think, certainly give us feedback if you feel that there's not enough reporting performance. I think that's something as a Google in principle, really, we know we have so much data and we want you to be able to access it, but we don't want to give you the level of control to which point you could kind of not get value out of the automation anymore. If you kind of just control away the automation, it's not going to be able to perform in the way that you want. And so I think you're going to continue to see greater insights, greater reporting features. That's a principle we continue to roll out with every different type of campaign and new solution that we come with. But it does take time, and I think it's worth starting out and then being patient. And I think over time we will be able to kind of help you fulfill your needs and fulfill your kind of desire for insights as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great point as well. Like when you look at the changes that have been made to ad strength and the reporting that we give in responsive display ads and responsive search ads, that all came from advertisers wanting to have a bit more information and control in the account. So this feedback is brilliant.
Totally. So guys, thanks for joining. I think we have to wrap up here and head to our next meetings. But thanks for jumping on. Hopefully you learned some stuff. And we'll have future episodes upcoming on different topics, and continue to kind of reach out to us and provide us feedback on how things are going for you. We love to hear from customers all the time. So thanks again for joining, and have a good rest of your day wherever you are out there.